Hello, hello, and welcome, everyone. I am Lizzie, your host. Tell me who you are, what you do, contact info, anything new. And that is the theme of the show, has always been the theme. Welcome to a beautiful Friday afternoon. It is gorgeous here today in Toronto, Canada, and it is an amazing day. Hopefully, you are taking the time to go outside and get some vitamin D3 and just experience this beautiful weather if you are in North America, of course, because I know some of our friends in South America are not having that much fun. It's getting colder there, but that's what it is. I want to thank everyone for supporting this show and for being here. If there are any comments, questions, concern, don't forget the chat is open not only on all our social media, but also on my website, LizyT.com. And today we have an expert, great business owner, CEO at an incredible company. Times are changing, companies are changing, everything is changing. We need to try to keep up what is going on with the business, with the industry, and today is not going to be the exception. I want to be able to thank, before I forget, our sponsor. Thank you so much, Dr. George Grant, for sponsoring the show. If you are interested in looking for a homeopath way of healing yourself, do not forget to connect with Dr. George Grant, Academy of Wellness. So thank you for sponsoring the show. So without further ado, everyone, I wanted to be able to give you a little bit of bio for you to understand the story today, or the company that is going to be coming today. We have our CEO, as you can see on the screen, our president. The company is called GPS Project Serve. It is a Calgary, Canadian, Calgary-based staffing and recruitment companies. Our mission is to achieve desired clients and clients' outcome. A lot of people, last 2 years, it's been very challenging for a lot of companies. I think this could be a solution for you. We do so by setting top candidates based on our core value, delivering leadership, experiences, and integrity. Huge important point right now. Our success steps from working with great people and businesses to support the core value and live them in their workplace each of every day. And true, when it started back in 2004, this has a little while, so very advanced, especially for times like this. 18 years ago, they were an IT delivery manager and project management, working with the top IT companies in Calgary. But the more of the story, I don't want to give it all away, is going to be told by our president and CEO of GPS. GPS is the name of the company. So let's welcome to the screen with a wonderful rum. Hello, Jack, and welcome to the LizyT Show. Good afternoon and good morning for you in Calgary.
Hi, Liz. Thanks a lot for having us. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Tell us a little about the weather. What is like today in Calgary?
Oh, it's nice. It's a little overcast, but warm. It's a perfect golf day if you're into that.
Oh, perfect golf aid. That's for that is definitely one of the things that I look for, my walks and green pasture and all that good stuff. I love Calgary, one of my favorite places. I actually lived for a little while in Swift Current in Alberta, believe it or not. So let's get into it, Jack. Tell us a little bit about GPS. You are the CEO, you are the president, you are the person that had the idea. Tell us a little bit about this inspiration about GPS.
Yeah, so I've worked in IT for a long time and based my career in there and through that experience working within large organizations, what's typical within those organizations is when they have very large complex projects to do, they typically reach out to a contract or a specialized community to bring in support to do something like that. So you can imagine an extremely large company has very complex IT systems, and they have a core employee base that's set to do the operational work and a little bit of project work. But when big projects come down, they need that expertise to help them get over the hump, to help them understand what has to get delivered to drive that sort of change. And that's where I lived and worked for over 15 years in delivering very complex, large IT projects and programs. And in that time, when we found that when we were reaching out to the industry to say, hey, we need some project management expertise around this type of deliverable or this type of technology or this type of business problem that we're trying to solve. We found that the regular body shops that are out there, the larger organizations, are a little bit disconnected from what the needs really are, and it's understandable because these are very complex projects that require a high level of sophistication and understanding to be able to accomplish. So it was at that time that GPS sort of took this opportunity to say, there's a miss in the market here, and quite simply, it's a very complex challenge, and the skill set is difficult to find, and it's difficult to sort of match those expectations. And that's where GPS has really stepped into, because I come from this IT project delivery and business outcome focused, it's easy for me to understand the differences and the nuances and the challenges of each of these projects. And now they're all different, and I'm not suggesting that, it's a one size fits all in that regard. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's we have a complex client with a complex technology and a hard deliverable that has to be managed while the company is still being profitable and doing its good work. Now, sometimes these are very customer-facing initiatives. Sometimes they're very much back office-facing initiatives, but they all drive a certain business value, and they're all a bit unique. So sometimes there's a challenge with leadership. Sometimes there's a challenge with the technology. Sometimes it's a challenge with the vendor. Sometimes it's about a particular skill set or a domain knowledge. And that's where we sort of step in, is that we understand those challenges, and we have a large connected community, certainly here in Calgary and growing around the world now, where we can understand what the challenges that the client has and match that with what one of our consultants would need. So it sounds really simple in that, we try to figure out what the client's looking for, and we try to find the right person to sort of fit that. But that understanding those challenges is kind of what makes GPS different and unique, in that we come from both. I've been a contractor and I've been an employee. I've been a leader and I've been focused on those deliverables. So, we can sort of mesh those two worlds and bring the right person for the project as the client has described it, and also match and understand what the candidate's capabilities are and really match those two things.
Interesting, very interesting. And it looks like you're definitely ahead of your time. I mean, you've been in business, GPS has been in business for a very long time, but I'm very curious to know that the last 2 years with the pandemic, that was a big test for GPS. That was the challenge. A lot of people, a lot of companies had to reinvent themselves. Working from home wasn't a norm for a lot of companies that are actually working from home. How did GPS manage to overcome and manage to reinvent themselves, to have to continue the legacy, to continue the work that you started prior pandemic? How did that challenge? How were you able to overcome GPS?
Well, it was actually quite. It wasn't quite as a massive impact on GPS and our consultants, because the short version is we're from sort of IT delivery, so the technology was not a challenge for us to overcome. It's very common in today's marketplace to have disparate teams. In other words, you might have a developer or a QA team in India, or you might have a project manager based out of Florida, or you might have a vice president that is living out his place at Muskoka or something like that. So it's quite common for our consultants to manage these disparate teams. The bigger challenge really came with helping to align the companies in this type of deliverable, because very often these types of complex deliveries, they require these sort of formal meetings where decision points are made and gates are met and that kind of thing. But also, the hallway conversations are a big part of these deliverables, and to be able to walk down the hall and knock on the vice president's desk or the director's desk and sort of say, hey, we got a challenge, or I got some questions about how to do this. So on the one hand, the consultants kind of, we very quickly adapted. I remember it was a Thursday in March. a couple of years ago that, everybody got sent home, and we were back up and running as an organization on the Monday, full steam, with all of our consultants contributing in a valuable way. It did take some time to help to educate our clients and the partnerships that are involved in there on how to work differently, because now everything, as you know, is a Zoom meeting. So those hallway chats, or going for lunch to sort of discuss difficult topics, or even sometimes going for a beer after work to sort of work through some of the larger challenges, was not something that was really possible. So we really had to help our consultants drive the business to understand, like, look, this is the meeting. When we have this meeting, this is the time when these decisions are made. And some companies very quickly likely lived in that world or adapted to that. Others took a little bit longer because their culture was one more of like, well, no, the meetings are kind of almost a figurehead. Like, we just go in to have these to sort of make sure that we're aligned, but the decisions and the discussions all happen offline. So this was a real change for them and how they manage that. And it's been great. I mean, I think we were all a little apprehensive to make sure, because we are a delivery focused organization that's focused on client outcomes. So there was a little bit of apprehension certainly early on, is like, how are we going to do around our projects, right? We have 50, 60 consultants out there, 80 consultants, at 20 different clients doing, massive projects, medium-sized projects that were on the go. But what we've seen over the last couple of years in doing this, it wasn't really a surprise to us, but I think it was a little bit enlightening for some of our clients, was that, wow, we really didn't lose any momentum along this. There was a little bit of a hiccup at some clients around the technology, but for the most part, what they were able to demonstrate over 2 years was that, even with a 100% remote workforce, they were able to do these very complex projects and do them to the same level that they were at before. And I think on our consultant side, there was a lot of value in doing that, because now they're working from home. So some of the little tasks like letting your dog out and that kind of thing were really easy, but you weren't fighting traffic. You were living and working in your own time frame.
As many companies do use it. And I guess GPS was well prepared ahead of its time. And this was not a surprise. The pandemic didn't do much of a dent. The opposite. You were ready to go and take action, which is incredible. Congratulations, Jack, for the being ready and for showing to your customers that this is the place for them to be. So why would somebody go contracting? That's one of the questions that probably a lot of people are asking. And by the way, if you are watching right now, the chat is open, so you are able to ask questions, say hello, or even leave it for later. We will be displaying the website in just a little bit. But yes, if there is any information whatsoever, just put it on the chat. We will display it here. And this will be recorded here on the LizyT Show channel. So yeah, back to the question, Jack.
Yeah, so it's a very different. It's very much the same, and it's very different from being an employee in an organization, and it is a difficult decision for some people to take on. So obviously, when you're looking at an employee, typically there's a sense of like it's a safer organization. It's more of a safe play. In other words, there's things like your benefits and your health spending and days off, paid days off, and that kind of thing. Whereas in contracting, you're very much an hourly individual, and so there is a big change in a mindset for how you approach it, and as to why someone would get into it. Well, in our domain, which is really about IT delivery of complex projects that are delivering business value, you need to have an established skill set. So in other words, you don't come out of high school or university and step into contracting. Almost all of our consultants have been in the biz, if you will, for 10 plus years. They understand what good looks like. They understand what these deliverables, what the challenges, what the projects are all about. And they're very capable in sort of going in as a one-person band in that regard. So they understand where their value is. They understand how to do those deliverables. They need very little hand-holding and guidance. Now, of course, they're a part of a larger team, and they have a very specific role to play. But generally, they have strengths across the project. So, our two most common roles that we place are project managers and business analysts, and those are complementary skill sets. And really, the best PMs are great BAs, and the best BAs are also good PMs, just in different amounts. So it's that confidence and capability to do and have those outcomes that helps people to understand that they have the capabilities to do that contracting. And then it's really a market thing. So, certainly in Calgary is a place that we're most familiar with, but we do lots of work in Vancouver and Toronto and a little bit in the US as well. And the clients are looking for this skill set because it's a very expensive skill set for them to have on their payroll, 24/7, 365. So when they have these large projects that might take 6 months or some even a year or two in that regard, they need to go to the market and pull in these specialized resources to do that. So, from a mindset, from an employee versus contract, there are lots of, certainly there are lots of legal implications around doing this. So all of our consultants are incorporated companies. On the business side, they're not employees, so they're not treated in the same way in that regard. So they don't get holiday pay, they don't get sick pay. If they don't come into work, they don't get paid that day. And then there's the ultimate risk of like, oh, Liz, we've got you a contract here. It's 12 months long, but then at the end of that 12 months, you essentially have nothing next. Now, we obviously compete with our consultants, and almost all of our consultants have been with us for multiple years, so we're very used to that. But as somebody that's joining that fraternity, if you will, for the first time, it is a very difficult mindset to get over. In that, my gosh, in 3 months I'm going to be unemployed, and I might not be able to feed my family. So it's
especially in a place like Canada, which we in the last 50 years we're so used to security. That is the mindset of many Canadians. Although the last 5 years things have been changed, and contract and temporary solutions are becoming a little bit more acceptable, if I may say so, than the last 50 years. It used to be you have to work for a company for 25 years, get your watch, and retire. Those things are changing. Or working for the government, those mentality, that mindset is changing. I'm glad that a company like GPS is able to help not only the employer but also the employee. And yes, there are some fears, and better to have something in your. I always say, better to have one bird in your hands than all of them fly. And so, absolutely. Would you say that this is one of the risk, or is there other things that people that are watching now or will be watching later on could think about?
Sorry, is what a risk? The ability to have a job in hand versus something? Yeah, that absolutely. And I think you make a good point there. In that, in general, our world is going away from sort of these ideas of fixed pensions and having that well established and easy to see sort of nest egg built up through that. And so, if you are an independent consultant, we have a sort of a workflow and a process that we help them engage, which is, very simply, you save a portion of what you are making, and you put it aside, so that you can do things like some of our consultants take a year off and they go work or they don't work and they go traveling, or they'll be happy to sort of take 3 months off and decompress and then ramp back up. Many other of our consultants, treat it almost like a full-time job in that they're working every single day, sometimes for multiple different clients, in even different cities in that regard. So it is a very different mindset in that way, in that approach, and maybe is a bit of a reflection of some of the things that we see in the workplace, as far as less pension-y focus. But this, it's a different tax system. You have your own company and your own corporation, so there is certainly some overhead associated with it, as well as sort of the implied risk of that. But what
So
we
this is
find,
definitely the flexibility that someone will have to be able to choose. And obviously, GPS or companies like GPS are not for everyone. It's for whoever wants to have that kind of lifestyle. And absolutely, a lot of people that work for a regular company have their full-time permanent employee, or even part-time permanent employee, right? They have to ask for that time off when sometimes it's not allowed or not available. So in this case, then people have a lot more flexibility and freedom right? Canadian right now, this is the big word, freedom. Freedom to choose whether they want to work this way in contract or not. I love it. I love it. I think there is the flexibility, and it's wonderful that the ability to be there. So how would you say that for somebody to go into working with you, what is the way of going and applying, or I'm not sure how you position that?
Yeah, so in general, we have a connected community that we work with, and we reach out to folks within that connected community. So essentially, we are typically a referral based organization, but certainly we like to do outreach, and through our LinkedIn site and our website, we do engage with other folks, and folks that want to get into this. They have to have a core skill set that is in line with what we do, and I would suggest it doesn't matter what you're doing from a contracting perspective. You're coming with your a full quiver of arrows, if you will, for what your capabilities are. So typically that means anywhere from 5 to 10 years direct work experience doing the type of work that we do. Then it's around understanding what it means to be your own company and setting up an incorporation. You talked about it before, that control and that flexibility, and how do you move that line a little bit, right? So for instance, I don't want to paint the impression that our consultants work whatever they want and they do whatever they want, because ultimately they're a part of a client's project team. So while they certainly are able to control their work time, they need to work within that team as well. So there's a balance in doing that. So it's about having that core skill set. It's about having that ability to join a new workplace, and that's also something that's really unique. So
Yes.
you're going to work over the course of 10 years as a consultant. You're going to be working from anywhere from 5 to 15 different companies, or maybe within the same company but in different areas. So you need to have those skills to be able to walk into that room on the first day and feel comfortable and get to know each other, but also be able to show value in a very short period of time. So there's the contracting world. It's either show me what you've got, and if you're good, we'll keep you, and if you're not, well, we'll move on to that next person. So it's a combination, like I said, of having those core skill sets, but having that personality to be able to go into these places, feel comfortable with what you're doing, feel comfortable in engaging with these new groups of folks, and building up those relationships in a very quick way, and then showing your real value in a short turnaround. So it is a very much a skill and a mindset that
And I
is
think
needed
the
to be
growth
successful.
too, it's huge. Is the growth, the amount of learning for a short period of time. I think everybody nowadays wants instantaneous gratification. So, I mean, talk about trying to learn something completely fast. This is definitely University 101 in 6 months. Or I think the growth is imperative for all of us that are getting into this new way of working. So how would someone get started? How do we start?
Yeah, so I think that there's many paths. So we have right now about 60 consultants that work for us, and I would bet that there's 58 unique stories in how they do it. But at a very high level, typically they would start as an employee at an organization, whether that you typically a larger one in that regard, and they're doing execution and delivery on projects within that context. Because typically we are delivering business solutions supported by IT capability, it's not uncommon for folks to kind of come up from the core IT space. So whether that's sort of on the infrastructure or on the development side, and then they build out some skills that are around business analysis and engagement and that kind of thing. Other folks definitely come from the business, and they see the value in doing things like project management or business analysis or organizational change management, and they might come from the business side. And then at some point, they make the decision that, okay, I'm ready to leap into project management. So either they've decided into contracting. So either they've made that decision, typically, like I said, after 5 or 10 years, and there's either an opportunity that's presented themselves, or they've been maneuvered into this position, or there's a variety of starting points in that regard. But typically, you need that core skill set. So if we focus on, say, a business analyst, there's an international organization called IIBA. There's a number of universities in and around Canada that now actually offer courses in this. So there isn't a degree in business analysis that I'm aware of, but there's certainly certifications and there's certainly courses to understand the core skills around requirement gathering, story writing, facilitation. And then there's key deliverables that you need to understand and how to build in that regard. So it's easy, well, not easy. It's something that is learned and can be learned in a classroom setting. But the real value of the consultants are they've learned these skills either formally or informally, and then they've applied them through multiple projects over 5 to 10 years. Then they're ready to typically move into that consulting world. And that's typically the path that you go now. Now, when you're ready to do that, you would be, typically you would engage with a company like mine, and we would help you understand, how to present yourself. So what does the resume look like? That's a bit different from an employee resume.
Oh, wow.
There is a different focus.
Assistant, and I guess that's how you start, and then do the research and see what is applicable to you. Before we start running out of time, first of all, I just wanted to make sure that people understand the difference from GPS to any organization similar to GPS, just to see what is in it for me. If I go with GPS, what am I going, what's what's in it for me? That's most people want to get that information. That's question number one. And question number two, we need to find out your social or website and social media. If obviously you are on LinkedIn, I found you there already. Any other way that someone can get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, so obviously LinkedIn is not a bad starting spot. We've got a website called GPS Project Services. Certainly go there. There it is there. Thank you. And check out who we are there. There's a lot of information, and we're sort of easy to contact in that regard. To your question as to why someone would pick GPS. So absolutely, this is a competitive marketplace that we live in, and we compete with international organizations that do this, as well as other boutique firms like us. And I think that's the nature and the value that GPS provides. Is we're fairly narrow focused on what we call project leadership roles. And the real value comes from where we come from. So, when you're working with us, you're working with people who are from IT. We get delivery. We've been on the ground executing projects. We've worked with executives and leadership to do strategies and roadmaps personally. So when we're working with us, we're someone that understands the nuances of the roles, the value that particular roles and that people bring, and then try to understand how that individual is great. Right. So we do want to understand where their strengths and their weaknesses are. And then we frankly bring that to the client. So we don't try to say, oh my God, you've got to meet Liz. She can do no wrong and she can do everything and she can walk on water. We try to go there and say, listen, you talked about this project that you have with us. Now we've got a job description, but frankly, job descriptions are not that valuable. What's really important is us to be the trust that we can build with our clients, where we can say, what's the real challenge with this project and what are the real skill sets you need? So when you think about the role of a project manager, well, you could quite simply say it's budget, schedule, and scope in that regard. But the reality on the ground is there's a personality, there's a skill set, there's a domain knowledge, there's a unique set of those skills that are required to be successful. And because this is what we've been doing for a long time, and because my core, I come from an IT delivery background, we're really able to understand what that gap that client is trying to fill is within their team, because ultimately they have most of that team built. Now they're looking for that right leader to come in. And if you look at it like a sports team, sometimes you need a really strong defenseman that can come in and crack some skulls. Sometimes you need a highly skilled forward to come in and do something with the puck. And that's what we try to understand is what is the real gap you're trying to fill. And then on the consultant side, we try to understand who our consultants are and where their strengths are at. And like I said, it's really a simple story to tell in that we try to figure out what the problem is, and then we try to find the right person for it. But it's our background in this, and in delivery and execution, and our years in doing this that really sets us apart from most other folks in this field.
And I love right on your website right now. This is 15 years in business. So this is not a company. It's not a startup. You guys have an incredible amount of expertise, experience, and 1,000 plus projects completed. It speaks for itself, the quality and the prestige that GPS has, and over 8,000 connected community. That it's impressive, very, very impressive, Jack. Congratulations for this. And one of the other things that I wanted to display here, you have worked with big names: Enbridge, Shaw, Nutrient, and Novus. I mean, we all here in Canada know those big corporations, and for you to be able to provide services and work with and have people working for those organizations, that speaks volume. A little bit on that. I mean, working with companies, brand names like this, what does it make you feel? How do you, I mean, very proud of, I assume, but any other comment that you can give us in regards to working with big corporations like this?
Well, with the business that we're in, it's we typically can really only work with medium to large organizations, and we're really lucky to have such great partners and clients like Shaw, Enbridge, Nutrient, Synovus, because we are a boutique company. We are much smaller than all of those organizations, and it's really valuable for us to maintain that relationship, and we're certainly very proud of the folks that we have within our community, because really, at the end of the day, GPS is our consultants, and we spend a lot of time making sure we have the best, and that they understand what their skill sets are and line them up with our clients' needs. And I think that's part of the reason that we have been so successful, is we don't just sort of scan in resumes from a website, or launch unknown people into the void of a cattle call from an organization. Is that we truly try to understand who our consultants are and what the gap is with the client, and that allows us to be successful at those very large organizations. And it's not uncommon for our guy to be championing a multi-year, multi-million dollar, hundreds of millions dollar project, and they do it because they have those skills, and they have that ability, and there's trust from our clients that we're going to be providing them with the right voice, the right person. So we're certainly very proud of all of our consultants and the work that they're able to do for our clients, and really happy that we're able to build that trust, even with the big boys, in that regard, for such a small boutique shop. We're very proud of that.
And obviously, it's your name, GPS reputation, that it is in game here. So if you would do assign or work with somebody that would destroy it, I don't want to use that word, that it's definitely not to your advantage, not to GPS advantage. You want to be able to keep the highest standard that people have for GPS. By the way, guys, right on the screen, there is the email for you to contact. Also, the links takes you to LinkedIn right here, and also the email. And there is a form as well. Love the website. Very simple, very straightforward. I mean, this is not about showing a website. This is about connecting people together. So this is incredible. So congratulations, Jack. This is wow, a proud Canadian to show all of you another proud company. This is all about supporting businesses like GPS and having a network, not just like he said, not just in Canada, but they're working also the US, in the US. Any other countries that you guys are looking into branch off?
Well, we have some sister companies that we work with in Europe. When it comes to some full scale delivery, as far as that goes. So, in other words, what we typically do in Calgary is, when you need a guy, we've got the right guy. But there are times when there are organizations that we partner with when they've asked us to sort of take on a project completely. So we do some work with some folks in Europe, and that's really where our reach is right now. We are mostly Calgary focused, but certainly we are getting more and more, and as you mentioned earlier, the implications of COVID and the working from home and environment, has made this more appealing. So we have folks that are out at their cabins in Muskoka that are doing work for companies in Calgary, and that's very common for us today.
Wow, that is incredible. Um, Definitely working from home and being able to be flexible and having to be able to work in cabin or cottages like we use here in Ontario, that is a plus. That is a plus. I think a lot more hours have been put in the last 2 years in projects and working from home than any other time. I mean, this is a lot of corporations have made huge amounts of profit in the last 2 years than other times. So kudos to you and congratulations, Jack, for being here, sharing this incredible work that you have worked really hard, you and your team. Yeah, I love to find out also not just your face as the president and CEO, but there are other people that collaborate with you as well.
Yeah, we've got a really great team. We keep our costs and our team as lean as we can, and we've got a couple of awesome what we call 360 desk account managers. So these guys manage the clients and they manage the consultants as well. I'm very hands on and involved in every every aspect of every day. We've got great leadership, from the founder Scott Wilson of our organization and our other partner Avilo, where we have this great reach that really enables us to get the best talent focused on us, and we're really lucky to have people like Andrew Shukart and Lana. There you go, that are a part of our everyday team. These are really dedicated professionals that do focus on the quality, and they ultimately help us build our brand and keep the reality of our brand, which is staying connected to our people and to our clients, and to take a personal stake in the success of our clients and our candidates. And I feel very fortunate to be able to work with these great folks.
Absolutely. To be able to have a company, a team that believes in the theme or in the history of the company, that is a big bonus. And they believe in what you do. And not only we're helping Canadians and we're helping our fellow human beings. This is all about the community, about building a business within this beautiful country. Jack, time flies here in the LizyT Show. I am so proud of you and I'm so honored to have you to talk about your accomplishment, to talk about GPS, to talk about what you do. And please, if there is any comment right now, we are going to be leaving this on our YouTube channel and also all the other social media that you can reach us. So make sure the website is here, gps-projectservices.com, and reach out. And yeah, thank you so much. Any last word, my friend?
Just thank you so much, Liz, for taking the time to let me introduce GPS for us today, and really look forward to maybe chatting again in the future. And if anybody is interested to learn more, certainly reach out to me directly via our website. I'd be happy to chat.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And there you have it, everyone. The website is still here. It is gps-projectservices.com. I hope you enjoyed the show today. If there is any comments, please send it. LizyT.com is the website. You can see it down here. We are on all the social medias down there. I don't know how many there are. Please comment, follow us. And this has been great. A lot of information, I know, but this is what it's all about. Thank you so much and make it an amazing day. I am Lizzy, your host, right here from Toronto. Bye-bye for now.